Fine, so here they go, side by side, the Andrew Banks McLaren with the Lola flanking it in the hands initially of Jason Wright. And then on the second row, we've got the little Lola, number 44, which is being started. Number 44 being started by Philip Hall. I didn't mention that one, did I? But Philip Hall goes first in 44. Here we go then, the race underway. And as they boom their way up towards you for the first time, Alistair, it is the McLaren already drawing away in front.
Yes, indeed, it is the open-top McLaren, followed by 2 of the Mark IIIB Lola T70s, the closed cars, then another of the open cars, which looks to be the Michael Gans Lola T290. Check that as they come through. No, yes, it is Michael Gans up to... He's a very quick starter, isn't he, Michael? Yeah. Did it earlier in the day, and he's chasing those 2 T70s down to Brooklands.
Indeed he is, as they vainly pursue the McLaren. I suspect the McLaren, unless it has mechanical problems, is going to run away with the race. But Michael Gans is this little red Lola, really giving the big Lolas a pretty hard time. The big Lolas are of an earlier era, old designs from the late 1960s. The Lola 2-litre, a rather more modern car, the car of Michael Gans from 1972. Not that much younger, but is a bit younger. And there is Martin Stretton in the M6 GT McLaren, running just behind Michael Gans and just ahead of another of the 2-litre sports racers. So Michael Gans, as he always does, goes very well in this little Lola. And right on the tail, they're going past you now, Alistair.
Yes, and he's got that M6 GT of Martin Stretton right behind him. And behind Martin Stretton is the Philip Hall Nick Padmore, car number 44, which I didn't make it. I don't.
Philip Hall.
Is it? Thank you. Yeah, I didn't note that one. Philip Hall. So Nick Padmore, a very quick driver. Look forward to him getting in the car.
Yeah. So diving down on the inside there, Philip Hall gaining a place. So the car's then coming into Club Corner to complete the opening lap, and the McLaren pulling well away from the tussle behind, which now involves the 2 Lola T70s of Jason Wright and David Hart, and Martin Stretton in the McLaren M6, who's right on the tail of David Hart. And then we've got Michael Gans in the number 25 Lola. Diogo Ferrao going very, very well, also as he did in qualifying yesterday in his Lola T292. Then in 7th place, number 44, is Philip Hall.
And Martin Stretton looking for a way past the second of the Lola T70s, that of David Hart, but just hasn't got the power as they went through the short straight. But now he's onto the Wellington straight. He's right up underneath, and I think maybe Martin Stretton might sneak through at Brooklands.
Yes, as they get into the braking area for Brooklands, the McLaren has the inside line and goes through and takes third place from David Hart. So Martin Stretton in the McLaren now in third place. So we've got a McLaren leading and a McLaren in third place, but rather different sorts of McLaren. And I think we can assume that, given reliability, there it is on its own already as you look back down the Heritage Pit Straight. So I think we can assume that the Banks boys are going to win this. So it would have to involve some unforeseen events, either lapping another car or mechanical failure, which would prevent it from winning. But what about a challenge by Martin Stretton for second place?
Yes, and he goes through into second place past Jason Wright in the T70 with the red light on the top. Looks wonderful in the dusk. As Martin Stretton goes up into second place, this is a stunning run for this car, isn't it? It's fabulous. Never seen it race before.
Well, no, we were discussing it yesterday, and the conclusion reached was that it may have raced once before in an inter-series race. David Profido, whether it was this car, won't like it, but there were hardly any made, and it was hardly ever raced. But it was a project that Bruce McLaren decided not to pursue. But it's a car with a lot of interest behind it, and is showing itself to be a very competitive proposition, particularly in the hands of a driver like Martin Stretton, who's obviously played a hand in getting the car set up as well for racing purposes. And so we've got the cars coming through for the second time already, an 8-second lead that Andrew Banks has over Martin Stretton. So it's now a McLaren 1-2 with Lolas following on, various types of Lola. Jason Wright third in number 3. Fourth is David Hart in number 34. Fifth is the little Lola, number 25, of Michael Gans. Then we've got Gary Pearce now up into 6th place, number 23, ahead of Diogo Ferrao. He's moved. Robert Oldershaw's Lola is 8th, number 52. 9th is Philip Hall dropping back in his Lola. And in 10th place is number 76. Let's hear it for Chevron. Matt Wrigley in the number 76 Chevron. As I was mentioning, there he is going past you, Alistair.
Yes, it's just been overtaken by the later Chevron on the outside at the loop. That midfield battle that he's involved, not midfield, sorry, near the front of the field battle that he's involved in is wonderful to see. But prior to all of that, the Banks brothers McLaren goes through, and it's just so quick. It's pulling away comfortably from second place Martin Stretton.
Gary Pearson, I think, gaining another place there as he came through Woodcote. But we have McLaren's 1-2, and then I think it's Lola's all the way down through the top 10 until you get to Matt Wrigley in the Chevron in 10th place. So, and there are various types of Lola. Already they're lapping, you've got a slower car there. Oh, and that is the Philip Hall car, I'm afraid. Philip Hall pulling off. So the car that was going to be taken over by Nick Padmore, looks as though Nick isn't going to have a car to drive this weekend. Right, you've got the pack passing you, I think. I saw they've already gone through.
They're already on the hanger straight.
Okay, right, well, Martin Stretton 8 seconds behind Andrew Banks, but lapping a couple of seconds, or yeah, a couple of seconds slower. As the race now begins to settle down, the 50-minute race, with the mandatory pit stop to come. There's a number of these 2-litre sports racers, not all Lolas. We do have a Chevron or two amongst them, but it's Lolas to 4 apart from the 2 McLarens out front. That's now 3 laps completed by Andrew Banks. Martin Stretton 10.2 seconds adrift now, but keeping at bay Jason Wright in the number 3 Lola T70. Michael Gans and Gary Pearson up into 4th and 5th places, moving ahead of David Hart, who after his strong start has dropped down to 6th. Robert Oldershaw 7th. Diogo Ferrao 8th. Matt Wrigley 9th. And Henry Fletcher Chevron in 10th place. Chevron's then 9th and 10th.
Michael Gans very much looking for a way past the bigger engine Lola ahead of him as they go down towards Brooklands.
Yes, Jason Wright in the big Lola turns on the racing line through the corner, so no way through for Michael Gans. At that point, he's going to have another look. I think Jason Wright still keeping at bay Michael Gans, who takes a tighter line coming out, slides the car a little bit as he gets the power in, but the power that Jason Wright has under his right foot is greater, and that enables him to stay in front for the time being. But Gary Pearson, normally to be seen having a lot of success in Jaguars, driving the number 23 Lola T70, having missed out on racing his sister Jaguar earlier in the day, is now seeing how much he can get from the weekend with the Lola T70, passing you now.
Yes, he's right up now behind Michael Gans, so it's T70, T290 and T70 of the Lola variety as they go out through Chapel Curve, and it looks as though with Gary Pearson catching those two, he may make a move for that position, and then he'd be and here he goes as they get to the bottom of the hanger straight. Yes,
he's got ahead of Michael Gans already, so he's getting ready to pass Jason Wright, and that'll put Gary up into 3rd position. Not going to do it there, into club corner. Still number 3 Jason Wright is ahead. Yeah, we might as well look at the leader occasionally, I suppose, even though he's way out in front. Oh, now locking a wheel. But I think I've seen them do that before. Anyway, Gary Pearson now challenging and going through as they go into Abbey. So Gary Pearson now into 3rd place. Andrew.
Yeah, on the pit wall here, I found it's very noisy. I found Nicky Pastorelli, of course, Formula 1 test driver for Minardi, I think, and Jordan as well, if I remember. You had a season with Rocket Sports in the Champ Car Series, so you've got a great career, Nicky. And now you're in a Lola T70, something a bit different.
Yeah, it's completely different than anything else I've done, but honestly, it's one of the most fun things that I've ever done, so I enjoy it a lot.
Oh, you're you're not completely new to historic car racing, because I've seen you in quite a few machines at Grand Prix Extreme Run. You're one of the Grand Prix Extremes drivers.
Yeah, that's correct. I try to race as many cars as I can, especially historics, because like I said, it's one of the most fun things to do for a driver, so I try to be in the car and different cars as much as I can.
Are you going to be doing some more current racing, more modern racing?
Yeah, we have some 24-hour races planned for this season and a lot of test work, so busy season.
Very good. Well, get yourself psyched up to get that Lola.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicky. So, yeah, I just remembered it. He did a season with Rocket Sport over in the Champ car back in 2006.
Right. Well, he at the moment is in a car that is running in, or he's going to be taking over a car David Hart has in 6th place, number 34. Lola T70. A great 2-litre. This is how these cars used to race in period, the 2-litre sports racers. They've been all passed by Gary Pearson. Gary is now in pursuit of Martin Stretton, so that's two familiar names in unfamiliar cars, perhaps. Martin Stretton in 2nd place, and now Gary Pearson is in 3rd place. And all the 2-litres are, the front-running 2-litres are bunching up together. Michael Gans and Robert Oldershaw, Diego Ferrao, Matt Ridley, and then Henry Fletcher and Gary Culver now, number 95, in 11th place with his Lola T70 Mark 3B. The leaders have now completed 5 laps. Andrew Banks leading by nearly 16 seconds from Martin Stretton, but Gary Pearson 2.9 seconds behind Martin and catching him. That's the next one to watch, apart from this wonderful scrap you've got going through past you now.
Yes,
Alistair, the 2-litre cars.
Yeah, coming up to Village, and they're spreading out 3 abreast, and they're absolutely swamping the Hart T70, and the 3 2-litre cars have gone through. Robert Oldershaw's already ahead of them, so once they catch him back up, if they do, Matt Wrigley at the back of that group. And as you say, this really is reminiscent of the 2-litre European Sports Car Championship in the period.
Yes, it's if we looked a bit further back, we might find the Sport 2000s are up to the same sort of game, but at the moment let's concentrate on these cars. There's Henry Fletcher in the blue Chevron, gaining another place, the Chevron B26. Running around the outside of Robert Oldershaw as he came through Luffield. Now, what about Gary Pearson closing up on Martin Stretton? 2.9 seconds he is adrift. Andrew Banks has set the fastest lap of the race at 2 minutes 8.989. Nobody else has lapped under 2 minutes 10 seconds yet. So the McLaren's win is looking a pretty foregone conclusion, although there's still plenty of work to be done to achieve that. 37.5 minutes remain.
And Robert Oldershaw goes around the inside of Jason Wright in the middle of Beckett's. That's a brave move there, but he got through much quicker in that 2-litre car, so he's now pulling away already from Jason Wright down the Hanger Straight. So that's up to 5th place.
Yeah, 5th place.
Number 52.
That's right. Just heading now into Stowe Corner. There's Jason Wright, number 3, in 5th place. And now being challenged by the next one along, which is Diogo Ferrao in car number 165. Daylight being visible there under the outside wheel of the McLaren as it turned through the tight corners of Village and the Loop, passing you, Alistair.
Yes, and he does seem to lock that brake quite frequently. He's even done it into Beckett's, which is a high-speed corner, so maybe just a little braking issue on the leading McLaren, but nothing that's really slowing him very much. Now we've got the battle for 2nd place, and Martin Stretton has almost been caught now by the Gary Pearson Lola T70. And Michael Gans going with Gary Pearson in the leading 2-litre car. Then it's Robert Oldershaw, and then next up is Diego Ferrao.
Yeah, whilst you were looking one way, so you see on the screen Diego Ferrao moving ahead of Jason Wright and taking Henry Fletcher with him. So Henry Fletcher also now ahead of Jason Wright, dropping back down a couple of places in one corner. So there's Gary Pearson in the white Lola with the green stripes, closing down Martin Stretton in the McLaren M6 GT. This is for 2nd place. 2nd and 3rd places these two cars are. McLaren ahead of Lola, with Michael Gans still best of the 2 litres in 4th place. Robert Oldershaw 3.8 seconds behind him at the start of this lap. But Diego Ferrao and Henry Fletcher are going to come into contention as well, I would have thought, in this race. got the leaders, or a second place car.
Yeah, Gary Pearson getting ever closer to Martin Stretton as they go through Beckett's. Just a quick flick of the brake lights there from Gary as he turns into the last element of Beckett's, but now out through Chapel Curve once again, and taking Michael Gans with him.
Absolutely, Michael Gans not being seen off by these two bigger engine cars. Now, at what point, I mean, obviously Martin Stretton and Gary Pearson have raced against each other many times over the years, so they know each other's driving styles and where you can take a chance and where not to do so. Well, at the moment, it is still Martin Stretton in the McLaren in front of, just think that McLaren could have become McLaren's equivalent to the LT70 GT. But it wasn't to be. They had to wait until the 1990s and the McLaren F1 to start winning at Le Mans. Past the pits they go, and past me they now go. Henry Fletcher into 7th place, and Matt Wrigley up into 8th place now in the number 76 Chevron. You've got the 2nd place battle?
I have, yes. I've also got the Ferrao and Aldershot battle as well, which was side by side in Village, but the 2nd place battle goes out onto the Wellington Straight with now very much Gary Pearson lining up Martin Stretton for that move that you said will come at some point, and it'll be a point at which he knows Martin won't turn in. So where will that be? Perhaps into Copse Corner up the inside, as a guess?
That is one likelihood, yes. I think you're right there, Alistair. And he's lining himself up for that, possibly even now as they come out of Luffield to go through Woodcote. Can the Lola close in enough on the McLaren to give Gary a chance? I think your prediction is about to be fulfilled. Let's just see as they come down to the corner. No, Martin is, without having to do anything dodgy, doesn't move across the track, just sticks to his line and is fast enough on the brake, late enough on the brakes to hold the position. Now they're coming to Maggotts. And
into Beckett's, and touch of the brakes as they turn in to the right-hander and then left, and there's no way that Gary Pearson can get through, but Martin Stretton runs a little bit wide in the middle section but gets it back on track, so no problem there, and out onto the Hanger Straight once again. What an absorbing battle this is.
I think what Martin is proving is that the value of this car for this sort of racing is very high indeed. It's certainly a competitive proposition against the Lola T70s, because we've got in the Lola T70 number 23, one of the top drivers of historic racing cars, Gary Pearson. And yeah, Martin's a top driver as well, but he's showing the McLaren is competitive with the best of the Lola T70s. Comes into club and completes his 8th lap in 2nd place. Gary Pearson in 3rd place. Still Michael Gans is 4th. Right, so it's a repeat performance again. Gary gets right onto the tail of Martin as they come through Abbey. Now back into your sight, Alistair.
Yes, they come out of Farm, and Gary Pearson goes wide into Village, takes the outside line. Martin Stretton defends the inside. There's a slower of the early McLarens to get past, but he keeps right out of the way, and the two cars slide through the loop on the inside and back out through Aintree once again. A tighter corner than it looks as they go out onto the Wellington Straight. Gary Pearson moves slightly to the left, but then drops in behind Martin Stretton, perhaps lining him up for Brooklands.
Yeah, Martin dives down the middle of the track to begin with, then moves to the right-hand side of the road in order to get the racing line into Brooklands, and so still has 2nd place. Gary Pearson looks for a gap there, but of course we're talking about big cars here. It's not a small gap you can go through. I think Michael Gans is getting a little bit closer. Through Woodcote then, McLaren leading Lola, leading Little Lola. Again, Martin occupying the middle of the road. Gary doesn't chance his arm going into Copse Corner, so it is still the McLaren ahead of the Lola. And Michael Gans, I reckon, is slightly closer in the 2-litre Lola.
He absolutely is, yes. He's catching them as they come into Beckett's once again. And Gary Pearson a little bit quicker on the first element of Beckett's, closes right up. Once again, Martin Stretton doesn't get so close to the curb as Gary does, but Michael Gans has suddenly jumped onto the back of Gary Pearson's car, so he's right in the mix again.
Yes, looking at the lap times last time around, Martin did his best lap of the race so far, but quicker than that was Gary Pearson, and doing not his best lap. In fact, Michael Gans could go quicker than this, certainly than he did last time, so that car's got the pace. into Vale. Now Gary is lining himself up to have a go down the inside, knowing that Martin is going to move across and block him. So Gary Pearson saw the gap, went for it, and Martin kept it open so he could go through. Now he's got Martin, that is. Martin Stretton's got to worry about Michael Gans right on his tail. So Gary Pearson now in second place. And in third place is Martin Stretton. Fourth is the very close Michael Gans. Alistair.
Once more up to Village, and this time it's the white and green of the Lola that leads, but Michael Gans slides through on the inside of Martin Stretton's McLaren as they turned into Village. So it's Michael Gans now that's chasing after Gary Pearson. I suspect Gary would have rather seen Martin behind him, because certainly Michael is a big threat. Michael moves over to the left of the track to defend the line into Brooklands.
Yes, in the course of doing so, actually, I think he's lost a bit of ground there. And he's not nearly as close. Ooh, a chevron pulling across the bows of Gary Pearson there. Chevron P8 as they went into Luffield. And hopefully he's going to keep out of the way of Michael Gans as they go into Woodcote. Well, only just about, and Michael having to stick to the curbs there to make sure he got past that slower chevron. We're in touch. Martin Stretton is staying in touch with the Lola, having been passed by it. Back with you.
Up to Beckett's once again, and yeah, Martin Stretton closing right up on Michael Gans, coming up towards Beckett's, but just eases back as they hit the brakes. And I wonder whether Martin Stretton just having to come off the brakes a little bit. Maybe he hasn't got the balance on the brakes quite right, and it's starting to get some brake problems, because it does seem as though he's losing ground on the way into the corners.
Next we should start watching Diogo Ferrao, because he is in 5th place, having just passed Robert Aldershaw, and I reckon he's coming into contention. You can see him coming out of Chapel Curve as we were watching the next cars ahead of him on Hanger Straight. So Diogo Ferrao is another one to watch in that great looking Lola T292 with the full works, full width aerodynamic bodywork. Gary Culver there in the green Eric Broadley EB, not an original Lola. Into the pits comes Henry Fletcher. So Henry Fletcher comes in, the pit window is now open. Henry doing a solo effort, so it's not a question of driver change. We've also got, is that Jason Wright, I think, just ahead of him coming down the pit lane. Henry Fletcher is in, no, it's David Hart, the other dark coloured Lola. David Hart in the pits to hand over to Nicky Pastorelli. But with all due respect to Nicky, I don't think he's going to be able to extract the same sort of pace out of the Lola as the Bankses are extracting from their McLaren. And there, slowly down the pit lane, is Robert Aldershaw's Lola. In fact, it's come to a halt. It looks like Robert was about to climb out of it. You've got the leader on his own.
I have, yes, in Beckett's, serenely on his way in the Banks family McLaren, and we're just watching Diogo Ferrao, as you'd said. He seems to be catching up. We'll wait for them to come out of Copse Corner with that battle with Gary Pearson. Comes out of Copse now. Then it's the Michael Gans Lola, and then Martin Stretton in the McLaren, and now Diogo Ferrao right behind in the Lola, catching up. And in fact, there's a slower car in Beckett's, and Diogo Ferrao goes around the outside of Martin Stretton, who's a bit boxed in there, but he manages to get along to the right side of the track, so he keeps the position.
And we've got a note on the screen to say that car number 3, that's the Jason Wright Lola, is under investigation. I don't know why, but it is. The Ford GT40 being lapped there by the only slightly more modern McLaren. The GT40, a car from the 1960s, as was the McLaren. But of course, there are lots of GT40s around. There aren't many, well, very few McLaren M6 GTs. But Diogo Ferrao, I think I'm right in saying, was mentored, coached by Martin Stretton. So it's the mentor leading the mentee. Henry Fletcher back out for the pit stop. In the background then, the pale blue Chevron P26. So you got the McLaren, still Martin Stretton having to fight with somebody.
Yes, Martin Stretton is going through on the inside of that slow Porsche, and Diogo Ferrao takes an opportunity to almost come alongside, but the McLaren has a little bit more power, so he gets himself away. But we've got running behind them, I think, the Fletcher car, which has been in the pits, but that's running in the same group, but a lap down.
Yeah. Well, pit stops are beginning. We haven't had that many so far. Gary Culver's gone in with the number 95, the green Lola, and also in has gone the number 2 Tadek, started by Timothy De Silva, handing over to his dad now. And the number 34 Lola T70 now with Nicky Pastorelli at the wheel. That's one to keep an eye on. Andrew?
The Tadek, Dad's not getting in the car, actually. Timmy's staying in it. So in the Tadek, Timmy De Silva stays in the car.
Thanks for that. So, understandably, how is it going then? The Tadek number 2 running in, well, in the top 10. He got up into 9th place. Then we'll cross out Andrew De Silva. And the leading car is in. So, Andrew Banks is in the pits, Andrew.
Yeah, just quickly, I just got Timmy De Silva's actually got out. What's the problem, Timmy?
Unfortunately, the gearbox went. We were having a really good race, and unfortunately, we had to start from the back. But this car's come a long way, and I think we're happy overall with the pace. But it's still a bummer to retire early.
Oh, shame. Timmy's actually studying for a doctorate in engineering at the moment, so that's why he stopped racing modern cars. He's just doing a bit of historics at the moment. But he's at MIT, which is one of the absolute top universities in America. So best of luck to him. Timmy, well done.
Right, we've got the leading cars in, then we've got Gary Pearson in, he's staying in the car, of course, Martin Stretton in, he's staying in the car as well. We've got the leader in, so Andrew, take your pick, you've got all the leaders in. Driver change, of course, on the number 89 McLaren. Max Banks will take it over, Gary Pearson will stay in 23, Martin Stretton will stay in 28. Michael Gans, therefore, will go into the lead of the race briefly in the number 25 car, because he has yet to stop. Also yet to stop Diogo Ferrao. But they're the only 2 of the leading cars that haven't yet stopped. Very busy pits now. What are they doing with Gary Pearson's Lola? They're pushing it back. Is there something not quite right with it? Andrew, yeah.
I think a bit of a Gary Pearson car, actually adjusting the tyre pressures for some reason. Okay. And it might cost them a little bit of time. Now, he's just taken the gear. You hear that Chevy revving up. So, no, he hasn't lost it. And Gary powers it out. I'm just going to go and catch up now with Andrew Banks.
Okay, we're watching on the screen then his brother, who's taken the car over now, Max Banks, has taken over the leading car. About to catch up a couple of Chevron B8s. So the order obviously will be scrambled a little for the next few minutes as the pit stops work their way through, but most of the leaders have now made pit stops. Michael Gans and Diogo Ferrao, the only 2 leaders who have yet to do so. And of course we now have Andy Wolff in the number 3 car, not quite sure. Number 3 is getting a drive-through penalty for missing the pit window, which is odd because the pit window is still open. So I'm not quite sure what that means. Possibly they came in too soon. That may be the problem, rather than not coming in soon enough. Anyway, a drive-through penalty for number 3. So all the work that first Jason Wright and now Andy Wolff is doing, I think what may have happened is Jason Wright came in too soon, before the window was open. Andrew.
Yeah, I've got Andrew Banks, a little bit red in the face, but not too sweaty, Andrew. You made a stunning start, then you just maintained your lead, no problem.
Yeah, that was the plan from the outset, was to really put the hammer down and see if we could build a gap, because there's some pro drivers in the other cars in the second half, so I knew I had to make a gap, and it actually went all to plan.
Car seemed to be going very well. I remember so much last year when you had a big lead, and of course you gearbox broke. Everything seems fine in that area.
The car's faultless, and it's a real credit to the team, to the boys back at base, because they've engineered a beautiful car, and they've been working hard all this weekend, and it's paying off. The car's stunning.
If I remember, you started racing in Alphas, didn't you? And it's a big progression.
Well, I started racing single-seaters, Formula Ford, many, many years ago, and karting before that, but really Alphas. I mean, Alphas are what we're known for, and we have a lot of fun with our GTA, but this is something different, and it's great fun.
So you're doing a great job. Your brother, similar speed to you?
Yeah, we're very equally matched, which actually makes for a really good combination for across a whole 50-minute or an hour race distance.
Keep our fingers crossed that it stays together this time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew, I don't know whether you heard me say this, but the number 3 Lola has a drive-through penalty for missing the pit window. And I can only conclude, because the pit window is only just closed now, that was because they came in too early. In other words, Jason Wright came in too soon before the window had opened to hand over to Andy Wolff, which is a shame, because of course Andy is very quick. And that car in 6th place, but has yet to take its drive-through penalty. Pit window is now closed. Everybody has made their pit stop. And we've got Gary Pearson on the screen there now, going through Woodcote, with Martin Stretton not that far behind. There's Jonathan Mitchell in the Chevron B19 that was running in the top 10 in the Thundersports race earlier on, but I think he's now dropped right out of contention. Jonathan Mitchell, just looking to see where that car is. Yeah, he's in last place, many laps behind for whatever reason. That car may have been affected. So the order then, Michael Gans on his out lap, so it'll be next time around that the order will slot into place. So Michael Gans, by leaving his pit stop very late, has moved into the lead, but no longer, because through goes Max Banks, and that car, as it comes through Abbey, now once more securely in the lead. A spin there by the Lola T70 Spider. Number 117, the VN Simmons, gets going again. Gary Pearson getting stuck behind a couple of Chevrons, a B8 ahead of a B16. And there's the Lola coming out of coming out of Club, and coming through to complete its 14th lap. But he is 31 seconds, half a minute behind Max Banks in the McLaren. There's the spin by Ian Simmons in the Xerex Special Lola T70, Roger Penske's car originally. The order then, in the lead is Max Banks in the number 89 McLaren. Second is 23 Gary Pearson. Third is 28 Martin Stretton. Fourth is number 3 Andy Wolff, who has moved ahead of Michael Gans, but the car still has to take a drive-through penalty. So it'll obviously drop out of the reckoning.
It's just done it, Ian, and he's come out of the pits, and he's not that far behind. A drive-through isn't that costly here at Silverstone, is it, with cutting Club out? And he was on the Wellington Straight behind Gans, Farao, and Gans and Farao, in fact, just those two he's lost to, so he's only dropped down two places.
Thanks, Alistair. Andrew, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I had my Thunder stolen, because I was just going to tell you that the Andy Wolff car just came past me and did its drive-through, so Alistair already covered that.
Do you know what? I reckon that car's just taken its drive-through penalty. Anyway, we'll see where it is. By Alistair's reckoning, it's dropped down a couple of places. That's all. Because, as Alistair points out, coming into the pits on the Club corner, you cut out Club corner in effect, and it was only a drive-through, it wasn't a stop-go. And we have the retirement there on the side of the track of the number 58 car. That's the Sean Lynn, Andrew Haddon Lola T70 Mark 3B, which I think is an original David Piper car. Right, nose to tail are Farao and Gans. There's 165. Diego Farao right on the tail of Michael Gans as they go into Vale. Farao looks to the right. Not going to get round there. Interesting to compare the different size bodywork of these two cars, even if they're not that far apart in age. But the much more aerodynamic bodywork of the Farao car. Number 165, the Lola T292. coming through Abbey, just lapping one of the Chevron B8s and coming into your sight. Still just ahead is Michael Gans.
And not far ahead of them is Martin Stretton. They're still a little bit in touch, but these 2-litre cars coming through the left-handed loop now. And as they turn through the left-handed loop corner, the Andy Wolff T70 that's done its drive-through is coming through Village, so he didn't lose too much time. But down to Brooklands now for that battle of the Lolas.
Yeah, Andy Wolff, of course, very quick driver, so he is going to be able to overcome the effect of the penalty rather better than many. Through Luffield goes the 2-litre Lola battle, with, as you say, Martin Stretton not that far up the road ahead of Gary Pearson, of course, ahead of Martin. The gap 5.2 seconds. The gap first to second, though, 31 seconds. 14.5 minutes of the race remain. And we can now give an order with reasonable confidence because all the pit stops in the drive-through penalty have worked their way through. So in the lead is Max Banks in the number 89 McLaren. Second is number 23, Gary Pearson's Lola T70. In third place, number 28, Martin Stretton in the McLaren M6 GT. In fourth place, number 25, Michael Gans with the small Lola T290. In fifth place, number 165, Diogo Ferrao with the Lola T292. In sixth place, number 3, Andy Wolff in the Lola T70. In seventh place, number 95, Gary Culver in the recently created Eric Broadley Lola T70. In eighth place, number 210, David Tomlin's Lola, little Lola T210. In ninth place, Henry Fletcher with the number 80 Chevron B26, and 10th is number 59, now being driven by Robert Beebe, their Lola T70 Mark III-B. One, of course, I've just realised we're missing is Nicky Pastorelli, who's come into the pits some time ago now, 2 or 3 laps ago. So David Hart, Nicky Pastorelli look to be out of the race. Andrew may be able to catch up on that car because it's shown as being in the pits, no longer on the track. Gans and Ferrao go through nose to tail, heading back into your sight there with the little red lights you were talking about, Alistair, is the Lola in 5th place. And
Ferrao goes through and Gans tries to nip back inside as they go up towards the loop. And this battle that they're involved in is carrying them up onto the back of Martin Stretton as well. But they go side by side through Aintree. Tremendous trust between those two drivers at that speed. And then they go under the bridge, and I think Gans has got the inside, so he'll probably hold it into Brooklands.
Yes, he does. You're right, he got his way through because he took that very tight line coming out of the loop, almost touched but didn't quite touch the Diogo Ferrao car. Michael Gans, a vastly experienced racer with various types of historic car, and running a bit wide there with Diogo Ferrao coming out of Luffield, but not too wide. I don't think out of the track limit. In fact, we got through the whole of today without any track limit penalties. I think we're right. That's right, because they see they're the curse of modern racing. Last time around, Max Banks did the new fastest lap of the race. 2 minutes 8.672 as the fuel load of the cars comes down. And the 2 little Lolas are back with you, Alistair.
They are indeed, yes. Just as you said, there were no track limits penalties. In fact, Diogo Ferrao went quite wide at Copse Corner, but he stayed behind Michael Gans, so no advantage gained as they go out through Beckett's. In fact, the less winged Lola of Michael Gans is quicker through Beckett's and exits a little bit further ahead.
Got a curious note on the... Do we have a car number 911 in the race? Because apparently it missed the pit window. But looking at the list of start drivers, there's no 911 on that.
It's the very slow Porsche, Goodall and Rao.
Oh, yes, there we are. It's number 15, renumbered as 911, that's the reason. Because it's a Porsche 911, not a Porsche 15. Silly me. Right. So there we are. Diogo Ferrao coming across the start-finish line. The gap between Martin Stretton and those two is 2.5 to 3 seconds. And then behind them is Andy Wolff. He's 3.7 seconds behind. His lap time last time, he is lapping quicker. Andy Wolff is lapping noticeably quicker than the 2 little Lolas. You'll have them all in a moment.
Well, yes, it was the loop to Village a few laps ago, but this time they were both in the run towards the loop. As you say, Andy Wolff is closing in on that battling Lola duo, 2-litre Lola duo, as they go down towards Brooklands once again.
It's difficult to know whether they're really able to work together to improve their position, or whether in fact what's happening is that they're getting in each other's way and slowing each other down. And Martin Stretton is being definitely caught by them, and that of course means that Martin is also being caught by Andy Wolff. So third place is the one that is in dispute. And so 10 minutes to go. I think Gary Pearson is pretty secure in second place. I don't think Andy Wolff's going to catch him, is he, at the rate he's going? Although he is driving absolutely on the limit, as you can see there, going over the curbs, a little touch of opposite lock as he corrects it and comes back into your sight.
Yes, and Andy Wolff going through with those very distinctive red lights on the one on the top of the car and one on the side as he in the gathering dusk now as they go out onto the hangar straight once again. But Diogo Ferrao now ahead of Michael Gans and slightly pulling away and closing in on Martin Stretton.
Car number 3 is still said to be under investigation for whatever reason. I would have thought, oh, that was something before they had their pit stop window. There was some earlier problem with the car that is still being investigated. With whatever the outcome may be, we don't know. There's Martin Stretton then coming into club corner in the third place McLaren M6 GT. Diogo Ferrao behind him. Remember, they were, before they made their pit stops, they were having a good little battle between them. And battle is joined once more. And then we've got the Michael Gans Lola in 5th place, and all of them being caught by Andy Wolff in the number 3 Lola.
Up into Village once again. Martin Stretton now coming under great pressure from Diogo Ferrao as they turn towards the left-hander at the loop. Meantime, ahead of them, Gary Pearson exits Aintree, so as you say, that's not really in question now. Gary Pearson's got that under control, but Diogo Ferrao very much has sights on 3rd place, and of course we mustn't forget Andy Wolff coming up in the Lola T70. He's
got a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Number 3, I'm afraid. So, is that a new one? It's just come up on the screen. Drive-through penalty, speeding in the pit lane, car number 3. Of course, he's had a drive-through penalty. I don't know whether it's another one. Maybe he has compounded the felony by having another drive-through penalty. When he took the first one, he went too quickly. And Andrew, what do you know?
Well, I did see him make that drive-through, and he was going pretty quickly. I have to say, when he came by me, I was surprised by the speed. I wasn't sure what the pit speed limit was, so, but I think that's almost certainly what's happened.
Yeah, so it's a trick that good old Jean-Pierre Jarret used to indulge in. I remember he just used to, every time he was given a drive-through penalty, he just went quicker down the pit lane and ended up picking up more and more penalties. And then he got stop-goes and he still wouldn't go slower. Anyway, it looks as though Andy Wolff has got another penalty from what Andrew saw. That was the Alpha going through. That's in 11th place now, the number 17 Alpha 33 TT3. And is not gaining any ground. It's kind of stuck in that 11th place. I don't think it's going to be able to improve on that. So Martin Stretton comes into club, still in 3rd place, and assuming that Andy Wolff takes his drive-through penalty, no longer needs to worry about that, but could still be passed by Diogo Ferrao and Michael Gans. Back with you, Alex, of the McLaren.
Yes, Gary Pearson already into the loop. Then we've got this battle, Martin Stretton, Diogo Ferrao turning in, and they've got a couple of slower cars. One of them, the very slow Porsche, which should keep well out to the left and does. The other one is a quick Chevron B8, so that proves a little bit harder to get through. In fact, Martin Stretton is forced wide on the exit of Aintree, so Diogo Ferrao a little bit closer as they go down towards Brooklands.
Yes, that's right. Michael Gans, however, seems to have fallen off the back of Ferrao, so he's no longer a threat to repassing the slightly newer, more aerodynamic Lola. But still the McLaren is ahead of Diogo Ferrao, who's closing in on the McLaren. A car, of course, which doesn't have wings, unlike Ferrao's car, but has superior power. As it comes past the Heritage pits, turns into Copse Corner. And if the message is going out to Andy Wolff that he has a drive-through penalty, he's not responded to it yet. In fact, he's got ahead of Michael Gans, hasn't he? As you'll find out in a moment, Alistair.
Yes, he has. The red light appears ahead of Michael Gans. And Diogo Ferrao just kicks up some dust on the middle element of Beckett's in his pursuit of Martin Stretton as they turn through the right-hander and out towards Chapel Curve. And then flying behind them is Andy Wolff, who may have seen the board and may come in this time, but certainly not going out without a fight.
And the McLaren, the M6 GT has slowed, I reckon. If we could go back to oh, it's a Chevron, sorry. So there's Andy Wolff. But I just want to double check that I wasn't being deceived there. No, Martin Stretton's still going. It was a Chevron B16 that was going slowly down Hanger Straight in the distance. So it's still does look a bit like a B16 Chevron, I suppose, the M6 GT. Slightly bigger version of one. And Ferrao is almost up with Martin Stretton now as they complete their 20th lap. We've got 4.5 minutes remaining. Battles going on lower down the order. I noticed one between Till Bechtolsheimer in the number 41 Chevron, down in 18th place, running 4th in the Bonnier class, and fighting it out with the Andrew Owen now, Chevron B8, number 19. But that's just one example of the little battles that have been going on that we haven't had a chance to mention because there's so much going on up at the front of the field.
A big effort there from Diogo Ferrao to get past Martin Stretton going into Village, but it didn't come off and he ends up staying behind him. But he's looking everywhere for a way through now when he's got the advantage in the corners.
And there's, well, they were in the middle of some traffic there. They've got some more traffic to negotiate now. There's Gary Pearson coming out of Luffield. Then a couple of the Chevron B8s. And then Martin Stretton. Jason Wright, as I said, got ahead of Michael Gans and still hasn't taken his drive-through penalty, although that's no longer being shown on the timing screen, so I'm not quite sure whether it's been annulled or what. But anyway, Andy Wolff carrying on. Martin Stretton coming up to negotiate the Cooper Monaco. And another Chevron B8.
And Diogo Ferrao goes around the outside of the middle element of Beckett, stays on the tail of Martin Stretton. Both those slower cars keeping well over to the left and out of the way.
Martin Stretton last time around did that car's best lap of the race, so he's still pressing on. There's the leader of the race. We haven't seen him for a while. Well, on the screen, we've seen him at the side of the track, of course. And the lead that he has is, well, half a minute and going up. Through Club Corner. There we are, we made the comparison there. B16 Chevron and the M6 GT McLaren. And the shape is somewhat similar, I think you could say, but the McLaren obviously a bigger car, based as it is on the Can-Am car. And still Martin Stretton hanging on to that third place. Certainly having to work for the place though, and Alistair.
Ferrao goes wide into Village, cuts back, gets alongside. He's got his nose alongside Martin Stretton, and we know Martin won't turn in, but he'll do his best to take a good line out of Village through Aintree to get the place back, and that's exactly what he does. Perfect driving there from Martin Stretton, knew exactly what he was going to do, and he holds on to that place. Great driving once again. What a race meeting this is.
Slingshotted that car. Perfect driving there, years of experience enabling to do it. I was just wondering whether they're actually closing up on Gary Pearson a little bit, those two. Gary Pearson in second place. They are being caught, of course, by Andy Wolff in the car started by Jason Wright. We've got 1.5 minutes to go, so because we're kind of losing track of where the leader is, next time over the line, the leader will be starting his last lap. And the leader has gone through the second sector, Max Banks, but he has enough time to get to the, there he is now, I think I'm right in saying, coming out of Club Corner in the distance. Yes, so onto the last lap goes Max Banks with just over a minute of the race time remaining. And out of Chapel Curve onto Hanger Straight comes the second place car, the Lola of Gary Pearson. There's the leader. Back with you, Alistair.
Yes, coming through Village, and we need to keep an eye on Andy Wolff if he's not got that penalty, because he's almost behind Diogo Ferrao now. But yes, I think he's going to run out of laps.
It's a bit of a mystery because it was clearly on the screen and now it's been taken away. but he certainly hasn't made more than one stop. Anyway, passing the Ford GT40 is the McLaren, turning into Brooklands. We've got, just passing us, Gary Pearson. And you'll find once more that Diogo Ferraro, here he is, right up onto the tail of the McLaren.
And it's a repeat of last lap. He goes wide, Martin Stretton stays tight, Diogo Ferraro tries to come up alongside, but this time Martin Stretton stays ahead. But now Andy Wolff is right behind them, and Andy Wolff has a chance here in the last 3/4 of the lap to make up 2 places. So Stretton goes out of Aintree, Diogo Ferraro right behind him, Andy Wolff slingshots out in the T70. And somewhere behind me, the Banks McLaren goes through for the last time.
3 abreast, and Andy Wolff goes through the middle and takes the place. And Martin Stretton's coming back at him on the inside line. Over the grass goes Diogo Ferraro at Brooklands. It's Andy Wolff then who's got that place. He's got into 3rd place. Now, what's going to happen as they come out of Lovefield? It's the Lola in front. The big Lola, that is. Andy Wolff has got through into 3rd place. Martin Stretton's down to 4th. Diogo Ferraro over the grass. Oh, Martin's going very wide there at Woodcote. That opens the door for Diogo Ferraro to go through. So all change there for the 3rd place, the final podium position. Meanwhile, coming out of Club Corner to take the checkered flag to win after an impeccable drive by the Banks brothers. Andrew started, Max is finishing the race, and the car and the drivers showing significant superiority over everybody else. But to be fair to the other drivers, that McLaren is a very, very potent piece of kit.
And just a quick comment, looks like Martin Stretton has a puncture, but he is still rolling, so he shouldn't make the finish.
Okay, so Gary Pearson will take 2nd place in his Lola T70, which is just coming into Club Corner now. A good drive by Gary, who didn't have the best of qualifying sections, did he? Where was he on the grid? He was, well, on the 4th row, which is a bit further back than we might expect to find him. But anyway, he comes through to take 2nd place. And 3rd place goes to Andy Wolff. There's a question mark over it. That's not apparent now. So Andy Wolff takes 3rd place with Jason Wright. 4th place goes to Diogo Ferraro, right behind Andy Wolff. Diogo Ferraro, the best placed 2-litre car. And Martin Stretton, you say, with the punch, yes, limping out of Club Corner, will get the car across the line and then park it, and he will finish in 5th place.
Well, the winner's still just stepping out of the car, and his brother comes along to congratulate him, and they did a faultless job with this ex-Bonnier McLaren. Just waiting for him to get his crash helmet off. So he's just leaning down into the cockpit, and the helmet will come off in just a moment. Still got an Auto Delta sticker on it, by the way. Well, congratulations. You did a great job. Vindication, I say, for last year.
I know, I was just driving around just thinking gearbox, be all right, gearbox, be all right. But no, it was brilliant. The car was amazing. The guys did a brilliant job preparing it. Andrew did a brilliant first half. I can't say more. It was amazing.
Any problems with the traffic?
Not really. A tiny bit of bulking, but nothing at all. There were some amazingly courteous people out there who really got out of my way. So, yeah, no, everyone did really well.
Well, fortunately, you whistled off into the lead, but there was a great battle behind you and all kinds of things happening. So we still had a fantastic race. But
yeah, no, I didn't get to see any of that, but I'm glad everyone had a good race.
Watch it on the box later.
But
it was a brilliant show. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well done to the Banks boys. Well, you didn't have the speed of that Lola Can-Am car, but you rode that T70 along pretty well.
Oh, I loved it. I had a really good run through the guys. You know, those of us that were sort of dicing for the rest of it. For second, after the McLaren had just gone. He was so fast. But
well, a good battle with Martin Stretton for a while.
Yeah, that was good fun with Martin. It's always a good dust-up with Martin because he's so good and clean. We're old mates anyway, so I thought that was going to go on a bit longer. But I got a good slingshot out of Stone, just managed to squeeze past.
Oh, we had it right on camera.
Oh, right. No, that's good. And, yeah, Martin's he's good as gold, so he can do
What,
stuff.
do you think he had a puncture right on the last lap?
I don't know. He had a couple of leery moments, which allowed me to catch him up. And I thought he'd got a puncture because he had a big slide at Abbey. Then he had another bit of a wobble at Copse. And I thought, and then he got going again. Then he was quick again. So I don't know.
We'll catch up with him later. Go and get another trophy for your cabinet.
And so the podium presentation, everybody, for race 11 of the weekend. The Yokohama Trophy for the FIA Masters Historic Sports Cars. 2 podiums coming up. One is for the pre-66 and the home class. And first of all, for the overall top 3 and the post-66 class, which includes the Bonnier, Rodriguez, Siffert, Marco, Stommelin and Pescarolo classes as well. So let's get the drivers onto the podium. I'm delighted to say that to make the presentations, Mr. Imai, representing Yokohama, is here from Japan. He'll make the presentation in just a couple of moments after we get the drivers onto the podium. And we start off with 3rd place in the post-66 cars after the time penalties were awarded to the drivers that incurred them. Number 165, Diego Ferrero, onto the podium. Well done. Congratulations, Diego. Makes his way onto the 3rd step of the podium at the far end of the podium in... That's the one. In 2nd place, number 23, Gary Pearson. Well done, Gary. Congratulations in the Lola T70. Makes his way onto the 2nd step of the podium. And then our winners, number 89, Andrew Banks and Max Banks. Well done. Congratulations to them, making their way onto the top step of the podium. Handshakes all around for the drivers. And now they're in place. The national anthem for the winning drivers. The national anthem for Andrew and Max Banks on the top step of the podium. Mr. Imai, representing Yokohama, welcome to the podium, sir. Over to the far end, first of all, to Diego, and he'll receive his Masters cap and his 3rd place trophy. Well done, congratulations. And then down to this end of the podium then for Gary Pearson in 2nd place, received his handshake. His cap goes on his head and the 2nd place trophy. And then to our winners. Proud moment on the top step of the podium. Winning in their McLaren to Andrew and Max Banks. They've got winners' garlands to go around the neck. And then a huge 1st place Silverstone Classic trophy. Well done to the Bankses on the top step of the podium. Fantastic. We've heard from them down in pit lane. So now the photographic opportunity with all 4 of the drivers. If you could all bunch up together, gentlemen, and get you on the top step of the podium with your trophies. There's just about enough space for them all to bunch up together. Diego just on the edge of the top step of the podium. And that's one for the family album. That's our 1st podium, everybody, for the Yokohama Trophy for the FIA Masters Historic Sports Cars, with the winners, Andrew and Max Banks, Gary Pearson in 2nd place, and Diego Ferrero in 3rd place. So we clear the podium, get it ready for the next presentation, which is for the home class. So the pre-66 class will be rewarded in just a couple of moments, as soon as the caps, the trophies, and the garlands are in place. Cars firing up for our twilight race, our final race of the day. But before that, we've got our podium for the overall top 3 in the pre-66 class. Drivers onto the podium in reverse order. In 3rd place, number 29, Keith Arlers and James Billy Bellinger. Well done, Keith. Well done, James. Congratulations. Onto the far end of the podium they go. In 2nd place, number 117, Ian Simmons. Well done, Ian. Congratulations. Onto the 2nd step of the podium to a hearty cheer from the crowd. And then to our winners, car number 16, Chris Jolly and Steve Farthing. Well done. Congratulations to them. Onto the top step of the podium they go. And once they're there, the moment to celebrate with the national anthem for the winning drivers. The national anthem representing Chris Jolly and Steve Farthing on the top step of the podium. Delighted to say, representing Yokohama, Mr. Garai is here to make the presentation. Over to the far end, if you please. First of all, to make the presentation to third place to Keith Arlers and James Billy Bellinger at the far end of the podium. Then to this end of the podium, where Ian Simmons gets the award for second place in the home class, the pre-66 cars. Second place trophy, well done. And then to our winners, to Chris and Steve, Messrs Jolly and Farthing on the top step of the podium with their Masters caps and garlands around the neck of our victorious pre-66 drivers. And they'll have to fight over this one. The trophy for the winners in the home class, everyone. A big cheer from the crowd. They'll now bunch up together and pose all together for the podium shot with 5 drivers on the podium for the pre-66 home class, which concludes our podium presentation for the Yokohama Trophy for FIA Masters Historic Sports Cars.